You have no clue what it means when the world is 400% of GDP in debt. What are you going to do? Write every single asset. Everybody's savings down by 90%. Never going to happen. That was Raoul Pal, the founder of Raoul Vision and former Goldman Sachs executive, explaining the single most important fact about the global financial system that almost nobody understands. And the reason almost nobody understands it is because the moment you do, everything you thought you knew about money, savings, investing, and your financial future changes forever. Here is the question. It is simple. A child could ask it, if every country on earth is in debt, who exactly do they owe the money to? Think about it. The United States owes over $36 trillion. Japan owes over $8 trillion. China, the UK, France, Germany, India, Brazil, every single major economy on the planet is a borrower. The total global debt is well over $100 trillion and climbing every year. So if everyone owes money, who is the lender? Who is sitting on the other side of this collecting interest? Is it aliens? Is there some galactic bank on the moon that loaned Earth $100 trillion and wants it back? The answer to this question is the key to understanding why your money loses value every year, why house prices keep going up while wages stay flat, why the rich keep getting richer, and why Bitcoin might be the most important invention in the history of finance. If you care about your money, subscribe to this channel and hit the notification bell, because what you're about to learn is not taught in any school, any university, or any mainstream financial news program. And there is a very good reason for that. Let me walk you through this step by step. When a government needs money, it does not walk into a bank and fill out a loan application. It issues bonds. A government bond is essentially an IOU. A government says, give me $1,000 today and I will pay you back with interest in 10 or 30 years. Those bonds are bought by three types of entities. The first is other governments. China buys US bonds. Japan buys US bonds. Saudi Arabia buys US bonds. This is how countries store their foreign currency reserves. So the US owes money to China, and China owes money to other countries, and those countries owe money to someone else. It is a circular web of IOUs where everybody owes everybody. The second buyer is institutions, pension funds, insurance companies, banks, and investment firms buy government bonds because they are considered safe. So when you hear that the US is $36 trillion in debt, a large chunk of that is owed to American pension funds, which means it is owed to American retirees, which means the government owes money to its own citizens. The third buyer, and this is where it gets important, is the central bank. The Federal Reserve in the US, the European Central Bank in Europe, the Bank of Japan. When there are not enough willing buyers for government bonds, the central bank steps in and buys them. But the central bank does not have money sitting in a vault. It creates the money out of thin air. It types numbers into a computer and new dollars, euros, or yen materialize. This is what Raoul Pal means when he talks about the money printer. On X, he put it in the starkest terms possible. He wrote, while everyone is worried about 3.5% inflation, the real issue is the ongoing 8% per annum debasement of currency. On top of inflation, your hurdle rate to break even is around 12%, which is the 10-year average returns of the S&P 500. Just to keep your purchasing power, let that land. The S&P 500, the benchmark for the entire stock market, returns on average 12% a year. And according to Powell, that barely keeps you at break even once you factor in the hidden debasement of the currency. You are not getting richer, your money is just getting weaker, and the number in your account going up is an illusion created by the shrinking value of each dollar. This is what Powell calls the everything code. In an in-depth masterclass with his head of research, Julian Bittel, he laid it out with surgical precision. He said, the biggest macro variable of all time is that global governments and central banks are increasing liquidity to manage debt at 8% a year. 8% a year. Every year. Without stopping. Without asking your permission. Without most people even knowing it is happening. If this is blowing your mind, hit the like button right now and keep watching, because we are just getting started. So here's the answer to the question. If every country is in debt, who is the creditor? The creditor is the future. Every government bond is a promise that future taxpayers will pay it back. But future taxpayers cannot pay it back because the debt grows faster than the economy. As Pal documented in his research, it now takes 3 units of debt to create 1 unit of GDP growth. The debt is growing at 6% while the economy grows at under 2%. The gap is unbridgeable. So what do governments do? They refinance. They issue new bonds to pay off old bonds. They borrow more to cover the interest on what they already borrowed. And when even that is not enough, the central bank steps in and prints more money to buy the bonds that nobody else will buy. This is not conspiracy theory. This is documented, observable monetary policy that every central banker on the planet participates in. In his Substack essay titled "This is How the World Works," Pal wrote, "If the government and central bank need asset prices to rise faster than debt growth in order to stop the economic balance sheet implosion, then the only way to do that is to debase the currency, to lower the denominator, to give asset prices the illusion of rising." The illusion of rising. Your house did not get more valuable. Your currency got weaker. Your stock portfolio did not beat the market. It kept pace with the destruction of your money. The S&P 500 priced in gold has barely moved in 20 years. Your gains were a mirage created by the denominator shrinking beneath you. And when Pal was asked the obvious question, what happens when the world is 400% of GDP in debt and the system can no longer sustain it? His answer was chilling. He said, what are you going to do? Write every single asset, everybody's savings down by 90%. Never going to happen. He is right. No government will ever tell its citizens that their savings are worth 90% less than they thought. No politician will survive that. No central banker will allow a deflationary collapse that wipes out the banking system, the pension system, and the housing market simultaneously. The system is too fragile, the debt is too large. The only option that does not end in total collapse is to keep printing money, keep debasing the currency, keep making the number in your account look bigger while the purchasing power gets smaller. And this is where Bitcoin enters the picture, not as a speculation, not as a meme, not as a get-rich-quick scheme, as a mathematical response to a structural problem that has no other solution. Bitcoin has a fixed supply of 21 million coins. No government can print more. No central bank can debase it. No committee can vote to create an extra trillion Bitcoin to cover a budget shortfall. In a world where every fiat currency is being deliberately debased at 8% a year, an asset with a fixed supply is not a luxury. It is a necessity. Pal said it plainly. The S&P 500 isn't going up. The dollar is going down. Once you see that, you can't unsee it. And then he says something that frames the entire Bitcoin thesis in one sentence. What is the point of owning any other asset? This is the supermassive black hole of assets. It is the greatest macro trade of all time. If you are sharing this video, do it now, because what I am about to say next connects this directly to what is happening in the world today. Right now, in April 2026, the United States is fighting a war with Iran. The Strait of Hormuz is blockaded by both sides. Oil is above $100 a barrel. Emergency oil reserves are running dry. Defense spending is surging. The government is spending money it does not have at a rate it has not seen since the height of COVID. Where does that money come from? It gets added to the debt, which gets financed by new bonds, which get bought by the central bank with printed money, which debases the currency further, which makes every dollar in your savings account worth a little less. The war is not separate from the debt spiral. The war accelerates it. Every bomb dropped, every aircraft carrier deployed, every interceptor missile fired adds to the $36 trillion in debt that can never be repaid. And the only way to manage that debt is to keep printing. As Pal predicted in September 2025, this is the 12 months where maximum money printing comes. We've got $9 trillion of debt to roll over. The war did not create this problem, it exposed it, it accelerated it, and it made the case for a fixed supply asset more urgent than it has ever been. In a world where every government is borrowing from the future, and the future is paying with devalued money, and the cycle repeats forever in an endless loop of debt, refinancing, and printing, the only creditor that actually gets paid is the person holding an asset that cannot be inflated away. That is what Bitcoin is. It is not a bet against the dollar. It is a bet that the dollar and every other fiat currency on the planet will keep doing exactly what they have done for the last 100 years. Lose value, slowly, invisibly, inevitably. Raoul Pal said in a recent interview, scarce assets keep going up in price. Real estate, equities, art, gold, young people can't afford them. What is actually happening is a global taxation of 8% a year you don't understand, adding another 3% global inflation, and you're looking at 11% debasement. 11% a year. That is the hidden tax on holding cash, on saving in a bank account, on trusting that the number in your account means what you think it means. If every country is in debt, the creditor is you. You are the one paying for it. Every year, 8% at a time, with money that buys less and less while the number stays the same or barely grows. The only question is whether you continue paying that invisible tax or whether you move some of your wealth into the one asset that was designed from day one to be immune to it. That is not financial advice, that is mathematics. And mathematics does not care about your politics, your feelings, or your opinion. It just compounds in one direction or the other. If this video changed how you think about money, debt, and Bitcoin, subscribe, hit like, and drop a comment telling us when you first realized the system works this way. We read every comment, and we will see you in the next one.